Hey, what's going on, my friends? It's Dave Sharpe. Welcome to Wake Up Legendary. And this morning, well, we have the privilege and honor of having a former preschool teacher on with us who I always love when we have teachers because they give us a unique perspective about our education and our education experience compared to what they've experienced with their education systems, our education system, and not to compare and put down their honorable work, because our teachers, our nurses, our frontline workers in any respect are the best of what America has to offer. But so many people think that getting education in this unconventional way here, like we deliver it at Legendary Marketer, which is not really so unconventional anymore. After the pandemic, a lot of people have rushed to the internet to learn through courses, coaching, events, and get the specific strategies and skill sets that they need for something, opposed to the only option that's always been available to us, which has really been the traditional school and university route, which can be expensive, which can obviously take a lot of time. And so remember as well, all of our guests on this show are in most cases brand new to online marketing. They're certainly in most cases new to our community, and I've never spoken to them before. And so you're hearing from them the same thing at the same time that I'm hearing from them. And this conversation is completely unscripted, unprepared for. So anything could happen. Get your seatbelt on and get ready for an amazing show. With that being said, Trista, welcome to the show.
Morning.
Hi.
I'm excited to be here. Nervous, but excited.
That's great. That's great. Was everything that I said accurate?
Yes. Yes, 100%.
Okay, wonderful. Well, I'm excited to hear your perspective, of course, on your experience here, but also what, of course, brought you here in the first place. So let's start there. How did you find us? What were you looking for? Have you found what you were looking for? Tell us a little bit about how we got to this point, at least, or the point of finding us and coming into our world.
Well, I got my degree in finance in like 2011 and went the traditional route and had a great job and all of that. And then the mortgage world blew up in 2008, and I was forced to stay home because it was we just had kids and we were going to have more kids. And so I was a stay-at-home mom for 12 years. And back in 2016, I kind of dipped into MLMs, and that wasn't really my jam because I don't really like to hit up family and friends and team build and all that kind of stuff. And so I did okay, but it was like not really up my alley. And then my husband was in a really bad accident, and it changed our entire life. He almost didn't live and had to relearn how to do everything in life. And he could no longer work how he was. And so I was now no longer going to be able to be a stay-at-home mom and care for the kids and care for him and care for everything. So I searched and tried all different things and went back out and started working in the real world and trying to balance all of that, caring for him and caring for our 4 kids and everything. It was just too much. I was lesson planning and doing all these extra things. And so I just started looking online, on Instagram, and I wasn't really a TikToker then. My kids are, but I wasn't. And I was looking on Instagram, just scrolling, and I kept seeing all these girls pop up, and I'm like, oh, okay, they're younger than me. They're not like, like middle-aged, whatever. But I kept coming back. And I watched for a good 2-3 months, and now I'm kicking myself for watching for that long, because if I would have jumped in a little bit sooner, I would have been a little bit further. But I finally, in the end of May, I was like, you know what, what is $7? It's nothing, it's my teens, I don't even drink Starbucks, but it's my teens coffee daily fix. And so I just did it, and I'm an all or nothing type girl. So I just jumped in, and I haven't paused for a second.
Yeah, well, we're going to learn how you went from sitting on the sidelines to over 58,000 followers on TikTok and over 39,000 followers on Instagram here in a moment. But yeah, you were skeptical. You sat on the sideline. It appears that you then kind of went all in here, going through the challenge, enrolling in our Blueprints program. As a former teacher, what did you see here that was worth your time and money to invest in yourself to learn these skills? How did you make that decision? How did you, decide that this was for you? I mean, what sort of light bulbs went off? And imagine if you were in those first few days. Let's talk to some of those people who are just coming through the challenge now and trying to make a decision. Of course, every show is powerful in its own unique way, but yesterday there was a lot of talk about, just the power of investing in myself.
Mhm.
What that can do for me, and if I'm not willing to do that, then what does that mean? And what was it like for you? What was your experience like making those decisions, not parting with $7, but also deciding to really go all in and say, hey, I want to learn these skills here at Legendary, and I'm willing to pay for them as well.
Well, after like when I was partially through the 15-day challenge and I met with my advisor and we kind of were talking about things, and I was a little skeptical because we've been in a financial strain for a really long time since my husband's accident. And so I was like, "Oh, can I do this? Can I not do this?" And then I started googling, and I'm like, "I really don't want to take the time to try and figure it out on my own." And the level of support and education just in the 15-day challenge was more than what I was anticipating. And so I knew if I would have gotten the blueprints, it would have given me the foundation that I needed to be successful, because I am not a person where I'm like, "Oh, I'm just going to try it and see how it goes." No, I'm like, this is going to work. I'm going to make it work, and I'm going to do whatever I can to make it work. And so the practical learning skills in the challenge and the blueprints are just different than my college education. Granted, it's been 20 years since I went to college, and um, but the everyday things that you could take into real life as well is just you can't put a price tag on it. And so, while it was a stretch for us at first, I was like, you know what, we're just gonna go for it, and that's what I decided.
Yeah, that's wonderful, and I know that I know that you do have a lot on your plate, and I know that you talk about that in your content as well.
Mhm.
Being a mom, being a caregiver. Um, let's talk about getting into your marketing and putting the skill sets that you were learning to work. How did you transition to deciding what niche you were going to focus on? How did you decide to take action versus be perfect and have it all figured out and be totally comfortable before you started? So many people stay stuck in that analysis stage where they start to feel, sort of paralyzed,
Mhm.
even though they're not, right? Even though they have the ability to take action, but mentally, they have a hard time getting over themselves and, in a sense, getting out of their own way. How did you approach that? Make your decisions about who you were going to target, what you were going to promote, and then get those first pieces of marketing content out there and out of the way.
I mean, having a finance degree and like having that background, I've always been kind of a money nerd, and I handle everything in our house, and I've always been into investing and all that kind of stuff. So I knew that I wanted to be in the wealth niche. I may actually branch out and like go into like I would love to promote things to help brain injury survivors eventually, but I'm just not there yet. But um I just totally lost my train of thought. Um
Well, you were
I
talking about finance and how you've always loved the wealth kind of topics in niche and things of
yeah.
that nature.
I just there's all the different niches, and I'm not a huge health person. And I mean, I try to be as healthy as I can, but like I'm not
Yeah.
super into fitness. And I mean, I try, but 4 kids and a husband it makes it a little difficult. But and I feel like there's so many people out there, especially since COVID, that are looking for a way to provide for their family and also be present. For me, the main thing was like, can I still do this and make it to all the kids' events and still make sure I have my husband's needs? That sounds weird, needs, but like he has certain cognitive deficits where I have to make sure that things are still running smoothly. And so having the finance background just kind of was like a no-brainer for me with the wealth niche. And I love I love the education, so it was just like, how could I not want to promote that, because it was like huge for me. And yeah.
Yeah. Well, that makes a lot of sense, and I think that starting somewhere is better than taking forever
Yeah.
do nothing and find whatever you think is going to be perfect or is going to be your purpose or is your calling in life. It's hard. I mean, I imagine us when we're starting this journey similar to how we are when we're adolescents trying to figure out what we want to be when we grow up. Even as adults, it's hard when you're at something in the very beginning to know what it's going to look like a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now. And wherever you decide to start, whatever you decide to promote, my friends, it's better to start with something, anything,
Mhm.
just to get over the mindset hurdles that we all have when we start. So let's talk about some of yours. What were some of your limiting beliefs when you started to create content and sort of put yourself out there? You seem like I'm just going to assume a somewhat private person, a
Yeah.
person that's not, I think you even mentioned you're not all over TikTok. Your kids are, whatever, but you're not really. So, what was it like to begin? I mean, now you've got nearly 100,000 followers across 2 platforms.
Mhm.
What was it like to get your first videos out, and what sort of mindset hurdles did you need to overcome?
Well, first, in the very beginning, I was like terrified. I'm like, oh gosh, am I going to do this? I don't want people to see me. I blocked all my friends and family. And I was like super nervous. And I was like, I just got to start. And I just, my first couple of videos are not good, but it is what it is. I just did them, and, um, just not caring what other people think. Like, my goal is to provide for my family, and I just have to get over it. I had to get over the fact that, like, oh my gosh, all these people are seeing my videos and it's embarrassing. And I mean, my kids were giving I hid it from my kids for like a good month, because they're like, I didn't want them to see it first, and then second, they give me a hard time. I would go hide in my bedroom or hide in the closet. It was awful. And then finally they're like, what are you doing, mom? And I told them. I'm like, okay. And now they'll be in videos with me, and like, and but they don't want their friends to see, so they blocked all their friends and stuff. So, it was just putting myself out there, because I everything that we've been through, I am pretty private, because I don't want people to pity me for our situation. And like, there's a fine line between sharing my story and, like, I don't want anyone to ever think like, oh, she's just putting this out there to have people feel sorry for her. And I'm like, no, like, in the brain injury world, like, I joined a million Facebook groups and shared all the things that we did for my husband to help him recover. And I like, all I want to do is help people get their loved ones back to normal as much as they could. And so I like to help people. That's just in my nature.
Yeah. Yeah. And I totally get that. You don't want to capitalize, nor, I mean, you're not looking for pity. You don't want to like capitalize or monetize on somebody's, on your own tragedy, trauma, disability, or somebody else's. I totally get that. And that's honorable. And you're finding a way to turn your mess into a message. You're finding a way to turn your struggle into your strength. That was similar with my addiction story. I didn't want to, nor do I think it's cool to capitalize on being an addict or not looking for handouts, but I'm inspired by my own story at this point. I want to help other people. I've seen what recovery and being sober has done in my life, the same way that you've seen what you've done help your husband. And I'm glad that you're using your voice and not hiding your wins and not hiding your successes. So often we really, and this comes back to the liking gap that I talk about so often, which is we think people are going to like and appreciate us more than we think they or less than we think they actually do. And when we start to put ourselves out there, the response, we're almost surprised by how positive the response is. Now, surely the negative comments can weigh us down if we let them. Like there'll be 100 positive comments and then one negative one, and we're like, oh my God, as if like that's the only thing. But have you been surprised, overwhelmed? What have you felt by the success that you've had and by the response that you've gotten from your new audience of nearly 100,000 people that are following you on at least 2 platforms so far, and the success that you've had? I mean, what has it taught you about you? What has it taught you about people? And how are you using that to take it to the next level, if you will?
I didn't think that anyone was ever going to want to watch me because I'm not funny, and I'm not, I don't do a bunch of dancing in my videos, and I'm just a regular person. So I was super nervous. I'm like, are people going to want to watch what I have to say? But then I had to just put that to the side and just like be me. And I'm just normal. And people have reached out to me a bunch of times like, oh, I started following you because you're just a normal person and you respond to us, and that's a huge thing, is like people are like, you actually respond to us when we make a comment or we message you or and that's been huge for me to like grow my audience, because people see that like I'm a real person and that I will take the time. It may take me a day or two depending on how many people have like reached out to me, but like I will take the time to get back to every person that I possibly can. And that has been huge, because I know when I started, like, I was just looking for help, and I didn't, not from you all, but like just in general. And like, I had a hard time having people reach out to me like on social media. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to do this different. I'm going to do this where, I'm still going to have the time that I need for my family, but I'm also going to let people know that like I see them and I hear them. And, if it's about some random side hustle, it's okay. I will help you through it. Like, not everyone's going to want to do what we want to do, and that's totally okay. And I don't want anyone to ever think like, you got to do what I do. You got to do what I do. No, I'm just here to help people in general. And that's just my personality. Like, I'll help you. I don't care. Like, it's okay. I'll take the time to help you.
And I love that you're finding those gaps in the marketplace that you can fill. Not particularly by saying, let me copy and be like such and such. Let me observe what I feel is missing. Let me try to, one of the best places that we can get content ideas, one of the best places that we can get inspiration is in the comments of other people's videos, where those comments are not being responded to, where the same question seems to be coming up over and over again, and it doesn't seem to be getting answered. You can learn a lot about your audience by going into more established marketers in that niche and looking in their comments, not just being a commenter, not just being a consumer, not just, like you said, looking for them to respond back to you and getting mad if they don't, right? But saying, let me see what is not being fulfilled here.
Yeah.
Let me see what need or want is not being fulfilled that I can fulfill. Maybe not for these exact people, but usually people have the same need and desire across that entire niche. If you see a theme or a pattern in somebody who's successful in their comment threads, that's one of the, using that the marketplace to our advantage in looking at it like a marketer, like a business owner, like a creator, instead of like a consumer, is so powerful. And it can give us such an advantage if you have that perspective. Tell us what else you've done to be able to gain the followers and build the audience that you have. What other tips would you give yourself if you were starting all over again?
So on Instagram, I was very, very slow. I started off on all three. I followed whatever everybody said and just do all three. And I was like, okay, I'll just do all three. And I grew on Facebook and TikTok way faster. And so Instagram took me a hot minute to break into. On each one, it's literally like just one video. It's kind of crazy. And you don't know when it's going to happen or what video it's going to be. I mean, on Facebook, it was me cleaning my kitchen counter and telling my story. I wasn't even talking. It was just like kind of just explaining like my life, and it blew up. And I was like, oh, okay, and like things that I'm not expecting are things that have had people connect with, like, oh, okay, this is what's going on, and she's doing okay, and she's succeeding, and she's normal and stuff like that. So I think that, and just consistency for me has been key. Like, there's some days where I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm tired, I don't want to make content, but I'm like, you know what, it is what it is. I'm just going to keep at it, and keep, even if it's me in my PJs just sipping a cup of coffee, I don't really care. Like, I want people to see like I'm a normal person, and I don't always have my makeup done and make things cute, and things aren't perfect, because in the beginning I was trying to make things perfect.
Talk about it.
Yeah, I was trying really hard to make everything look perfect. I was watching all these people that had been doing it for a while and trying to make things all looking good. And I was like, you know what? Like, that's just not real life. And, I just want to be me and be as real as I possibly can.
I hear this day after day, week after week, month after month, that it's never the video that you think it's going to be. It's never, ever the piece of content that you worked on for so many hours or so many days or edited the crap out of it until you thought it was it's never that. So is it better, Trista, to be more consistent and put out more quantity rather than trying to put out quality or what you think is quality, right? What comes up for you, and how do you answer that as I present the question to you like that?
I mean, so I repurpose my videos, because I can't make 3 videos for 3, platforms or whatever. And I try to do both. I try to do 2 to 3 times on all platforms, but I try to make it quality as well. And so, like for me, like, we're going camping tomorrow, and I don't know if I'm gonna have service. So I've been pre-recording videos so I can put them out later, and so I may not work for the next 5 days. But, I tried to make time to create quality videos that I can still put out there so people still know that I'm here and alive. But I don't think just churning out videos without any quality is really not. I don't think that's a good thing, because it's not going to. I want to help people, and just putting out whatever is not what I really want to do. So I try to take the time, like when my kids go to sleep at night, or I'm watching Friday Night Lights at night, like I look at other content creators. I'm like, oh, okay, that looks nice, or that looks, like, okay, well, that kind of gives me an idea, and I try and research ahead of time on what I might want to do. And then some days I just pop up and I'm like, oh, well, that happens, I'm going to make a video on that. So
Yeah. So it's a combination for you of really both. Your process is kind of scrolling through the social media platforms, doing research, looking at what videos catch your attention and gaining inspiration from that, as well as telling your own story. And oftentimes the videos that are doing the best for you may not even be the talking videos, but more you showing images, whether that be B-roll, or B-roll meaning video from some past event that you have stored on your phone, or it may just be a video that you took of yourself sipping a cup of coffee or doing the dishes or whatever, but it tells a story with the text on the screen.
Yes.
Those are kind of the two types of videos that you're creating right now.
Yeah.
Cool.
And I do the gamut. Like I tell my story, I talk about marketing, but I also so I've done a side hustle for the past 4 years. And just cause like when we lived back in California, I was like, I need to do something to offset groceries and all that kind of stuff. So I tell people, hey, I've done this as well. So and I try to research things as much as possible, so they're not just clickbait stuff. Cause that's frustrating for people when they're like, well, I went and looked and that's not true. And I did one video like that because I didn't do the research and it got like 500,000 views on TikTok. And I was like, ooh, that's not good. So those aren't good either. So making sure that everything that I put out there is true is important to me, because I don't want people to not trust what I have to say.
Yeah.
Just put stuff out there for views. That's not worth it for me.
And I think that that's tempting, right? When we see somebody else's video going super viral, to just kind of try to recreate it real quick. But, if we haven't done the research to even know if what they're talking about is legit, is it still there? Is it still available? Has it changed? It's so helpful to, if you see a video out there on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook that you do want to recreate, to actually go through whatever the person is talking about and just experience it yourself, as if you were the person who was going to then watch your video and go try it. Because you may find that you want to make it differently. You may find that you want to add some sort of a heads up, hey, pro tip, right? There's that also gives you an opportunity to make it your own. Gives you an opportunity to put your own unique spin on it. And even to, as you say, make it more valuable, make it more clear, even give people a heads up. Hey, I hope you enjoyed this. I don't particularly recommend it as my number one side hustle to do, right? Yeah. I prefer XYZ. However, I wanted to make sure that you knew all of the options about what's out there, right? Follow me for more tips like this, right? Even simple little disclaimers like that, to where you're letting people know, I don't do this. I don't recommend that you do this, but at least now you know what people are talking about when you hear them talking about XYZ. Download my free guide for my 5 favorite guides, right? I mean, there's so many ways to give value and catch somebody's attention by making something look attractive in the first couple of seconds of the video, but then redirecting them with more grounding reality, that there is no overnight $1 million get rich quick schemes. And that if you want to do it right, here's what I recommend, right? What comes up for you as I kind of elaborate a little bit on that from my perspective?
Well, even when I'm promoting marketing, I see videos out there, just to be honest, that say, oh, you can make 15 grand in your first couple months. And I'm like, that's just, maybe one in a, but I try to be a little bit more realistic. Okay, this is what you could possibly make. And people seem to resonate with more realistic figures. I mean, there are those people that are going to make their, there are those Chelseas that are going to make the insane money in the first couple months, which is amazing. And I love it. But most people are going to be regular, and it's going to take some time. It's not just, I reiterate to everyone, it's not a get rich quick thing. Yes, you will see the people that have gotten rich quick, but this takes time. It takes effort. It takes consistency. It is it's the long game. You're not like, we're not doing, Mary Kay or whatever. Or I don't remember what it was back in the day where it's like just bam, bam, bam. That's just not how this works. But if you stay consistent and you put in the effort, it will start paying off. And that's what I try to tell people. I just try to be as honest as possible, because I don't, I've been, talked up a bunch in my life over different things. And I just don't want to share that with people, because I'm not here to, I want people to be excited about jumping in to whatever it is that they want to do. I don't want them to just feel like they're being coerced or whatever. And that's my angle on it. Might be different than others, but I just take a little bit different of an angle.
Yeah, and whatever your angle is, as long as it's authentic to you and feels okay to you, and I think that's what's important. We all have that right to, and in that. I mean, that's what this is all about. Entrepreneurship is all about finding your lane, finding what works for you, finding what's comfortable for you, while not discouraging others or slandering others or putting
Mhm.
others' process or the way that they're doing things down. It's not uh, about competition. It's about collaboration. We can all learn something from everybody, and it's such a great lesson that you're talking about right now, because you're the one who ultimately has to, at the end of the day, feel good about what you're doing, has to be able to explain what you're doing and why you're doing it that way,
Mhm.
and has to be able to stand for what you're putting out there, to back it up, to substantiate your claims, right? And that's what is, that's, I think, what helps us to have a long-term career in this business, is to be able to substantiate the claims that we're making, to be able to feel good about how we're marketing. And if we don't, then we can change it. We can promote something different. We can, I mean, that is what entrepreneurship and this freedom kind of lifestyle that we're sort of all pursuing is all about. Also, sometimes it's about just putting the blinders on and stopping watching everybody else and
Mhm.
stopping paying attention to what everybody else is doing and just really finding our own voice.
Mhm.
What sort of boundaries have you needed to put up for yourself or with other people in order to cut out any comparisonitis, over any oversharing or over explaining that you caught yourself doing with people? Like, what comes up for you when I talk about, or when I mention boundaries, and boundaries with yourself as well as boundaries with others?
Well, in the beginning, I was following all the big people, which in the beginning, okay, that was cool and stuff. But then finally, I had to be like, I was like, well, I'm not getting the same results and I'm not, taking off as fast as they are. But I just had to like stop comparing my story to their story and their success to my success, because we're all in our own little path here, and that's okay. And so I had to just kind of stay focused on what I have going on, and building my own thing for myself and my family, instead of trying to be who they are, because I'm not them and I don't have the same skills as they do. Yes, we all learn the same skills, but everyone applies them differently.
Mm.
Everyone takes what they learn and uses it in their own way. And so I can't just say, oh, well, I'm going to do exactly what this person is doing and I'm going to get the same results. That's not going to happen, because we're all different and everybody's way of doing things is different. And personally, like I've had some boundaries wise, like it's I had to grow some thicker skin. I'm not a very thick-skinned person at all. And just some of the things that come out of people's mouths, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I had to just start blocking people, because I I don't have the mental capacity to have people coming at me all angry. If that you do you, so be it. hope you have some happiness in your life. But for me, like, I don't have that thick of skin yet to just ignore them and move on. So I've had to block lots and lots of people because I just
Yeah. So your strategy and you're talking about people on social media who just come in and do drive-by negative comments.
yeah, it's rough. It's rough. I'm a sensitive person, and I'm like, oh
Sure.
gosh, why don't you like me? I'm in the why don't you like me phase, but it's
I'm so glad that you said that because I think we all deep down inside are sensitive. I mean, I even to this day, if I read a negative comment, it doesn't not affect me. I mean, I have to redirect my mind. I have to reground myself and remind myself that who is it? This person doesn't know me. This person doesn't. I mean, this person is just doing a drive by, in most cases, anonymous slandering comment. Um, Man, it is so important to honor yourself and your emotions and your emotional health on this journey and not feel like you need to explain yourself to the anonymous troll on the internet or a friend or family member for that matter. I mean, a lot of us have to put up boundaries with friends and family and really kind of realize that, sheesh, they may be blood, but they don't pay my bills. Or, they may be my best friend, but I don't know if she is going to be my best friend in this next season, right? If she keeps talking down to me like that. It is okay to be sensitive. It means you're a real person. And if you are sensitive and you just admit that to yourself, it probably is going to be a lot more freeing and a lot simpler on this journey than if you try to be something that you're not and just take these negative troll comments, these bullets head on and act like they don't hurt. They can wear you down. And I think the block button is there for a reason. It's on social media. It is there to protect you. It is there as a tool for you to block people out of your universe who are abusive. And golly, don't you wish we had a block button in real life too? So I mean, wouldn't that be nice in abusive relationships and things like that if we could just block? I mean, really, it's a great metaphor. It's a good lesson for us to start setting boundaries, to not be afraid to hit that block button and not give somebody the time of day, not feel like you need to use that negative comment as an opportunity to try to prove them and others right, or even use it as I mean, my God, if it drains you of energy, let it go, block it out. I'm so glad that you brought that up because I think a lot of people can relate to that and sometimes feel like because we're entrepreneurs, we need to be in some way emotionally bulletproof and have this incredibly thick skin and have these comments not affect us when that's still not true for me almost 15 years into this career.
yeah. In the beginning, I was like, because I was like so new, I tried to explain myself to everyone and all that, and that just like it's just it took more out of me to try and I'm not here to like if you don't want to hear what I have to say, it's okay. Just scroll. It's okay. I don't mind. It's okay. Like that's how I approach things. Like if I don't want to see what someone's doing, I just scroll. I don't take the time out of my day to write something nasty. It's just not a part of my being. So the people that do take that, I'm like, okay, we're good. We're not meant to be in this life hanging out. So, but
So, no, go ahead.
I don't know. Like after my husband's accident, like I got a whole new perspective on what's important in life because it can be so fleeting. The night before he gave me a kiss goodnight, and the next day he's in a coma and we're having to say goodbye to him like he's going to pass away. Like there's so many bigger things in the world that I've learned over the years that the little things, like it'll pass, and it's not that big of a deal. And I try not to let them get to me. So
Yeah. No, I know exactly what you're talking about. My cousin, which is the closest thing that I have to a blood brother, my dad's sister's son had an accident on a scooter and had a traumatic brain injury and is forever changed
yeah.
because of that accident in a dramatic way. This year, and that was roughly 10 years ago. This year, my father had open heart surgery with lots of complications, was in the hospital for 77 days, over 50 days on a ventilator. And you're damn right. Not much mattered during that time. All of the, details and things that at one time bothered me, not much even was on my radar during that time, besides my very core responsibilities. And so, yeah, obviously we don't want anybody, and we don't want to have to go through traumatic things in order to smell the roses,
Mm.
uh, for lack of better terms. But those of us who have, and quite frankly, my dear friends who are listening, all of us have probably gone through something difficult. That's why probably you can relate. And it's probably one of the reasons, Trista, why your story does resonate with so many people in the kind of humble way, in compassionate and caring and service oriented way in which you share it. Because we all have gone through difficult and traumatic things, and no one's is better or worse or heavier or lighter. Everything is heavy to us if it is in our lives and it's happening to or around us. And so, this helps us to, hopefully, during these times when we're building a business, to really clear out the and prioritize the things that are important. So, speaking of prioritizing and time managing, you have 4 kids, you're a caregiver. This is probably a topic I think that is talked about by you a lot on your social media. See, when you're talking about business, when you're in the wealth niche, for example, it doesn't always have to be side hustles and here's how to make money. It can also be time management tips. It can be mindset tips. It can be productivity tips. It can be here's apps that I'm using. Here's how I block out time. It doesn't always just have to be on the topic of money,
Yeah.
right? Or how you can make a dollar. I mean, what is some of the best content that we create here in Legendary? It's A lot of it's right here on the show when we're talking about mindset, when we're talking about personal development, when we're talking about limiting beliefs. So, how do you manage your time? How do you find time? And how do you share those tips, those strategies, those learning lessons with your audience? And is that resonating with them? Is that type of content valuable? Do they respond well to it? Take that question however you want.
I mean, I'm a good time management person. That's just in my nature. So I've always been able to do that. And all my kids are of school age. So when they're in school, when I first started, it was like 4 days before they got out of school for the summer. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I was hiding everywhere around the house to try and make content and stuff. And then I just was like, you know what, you guys it's okay if you're in the background. It's okay if you're part of it. And
Mm.
um, I explained to them, hey, I have to work a little bit, and then we'll go to the pool, or we'll go to the beach, or we'll go do whatever we want to do, And so they kind of understand, because they didn't like it when I was working outside of the house, because I literally had like no time, because I would be gone and I couldn't pick them up from school early, or I couldn't do this. So I just have to, for me, I find in little snippets of my day. Like, I don't have a blocked 9 to 11 I work. Sometimes I'll get home. Like last night, I got home at 7 something from running from shopping for camping, and I was like, oh, okay, I still need to do something for tonight. And I just block out 15 minutes and figure it out. So time management has had to be crucial in our life, just because there's so many kids and they're in so many sports, but I share about that, like being able to fit in doing this while always making my kids sporting events. And I share a lot in my stories. Um a lot of people share in their stories just business stuff, business stuff, business stuff. And I don't do that. I share my life. Like I share what we're doing every day. And it's always a sporting event or this or that. And so I I try to let people know, hey, I'm doing this, but I'm also here, at baseball or at cheer or here or there. So I try to include it in like all parts of my content, between mostly stories is where people like see like my normal life. But yeah, time management it's just in the little tiny pockets of my day.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're also kind of giving those tips and telling that through showing your life
Hmm.
and talking about how you're doing what you're doing in those pockets,
Hmm.
which sometimes is more powerful, is more interesting than if you were to sit there and try to teach it to somebody and say, well, here's how to time block and here's how to time manage. A lot of times, and we all have this opportunity to use social media to show people how, like you're talking about, hey, I'm here, I'm there, I'm on my way there, and I'm fitting this in. It's more natural, it's more story based. People find that more interesting. They have a visual as well that helps them to understand what you're doing versus just talking to people about things. People really remember about 10% of the data and information that we give them, and they remember most all of the way that we make them feel. And most of the time, they feel something when they're experiencing part of your life, when you're telling them a story, when there's something that takes them on an emotional ride. And so, if I'm watching you talk about how you're building your business while you're going to your kids' baseball games, that makes me feel excited, loving. It makes me feel, might make me feel jealous, might make me feel inspired, right? Might make me feel inspired. And those feelings are memorable, right? Versus if I'm just receiving information, I can feel overwhelmed. I can feel a lot of emotions that can be negative, similar to how a lot of us felt in school, right? When we were just sitting in a seat and we were being given lots of information. That's why we all loved field trips. So, what is your perspective, being a former teacher in, I would assume, the public school system, compared to this sort of education where you're buying a course from somebody who may or may not have degrees and diplomas and may or may not be a professor with a PhD in education? What do what are your thoughts on it? Obviously, you've shared your experience, and we love that you've had a positive experience here. But how do you communicate that to other people, that buying a course or joining a community online is not a scam? It's how many of us are learning in self-educating ourselves in 2023.
Well, I think the difference between like, so I was only a preschool teacher, so there, wasn't that much education in that, but it's that's more regimented, curriculum and this and that, and you have to meet these needs and that needs, and this is more life skills is how I want to put it. Like you guys are teaching us how to invest in ourselves as opposed to just going out and like showing people, okay, well, you need to write an A like this or whatever. This is more taking like, okay, well, if I apply this to my life, I can change things in my life in different ways. So it's more life based for me than it is like teaching ways. And the community for me has been amazing. Like I'm in Marketers Club. I don't make it every week because it's, but I try to make it. And there's just so much help out there, which you don't get. Like when I was teaching, like it was up to me to figure out the curriculum and the lesson plan and the this and the that. And I was just like, okay, well, I'm just trying to wing it and everything. But like, if I need help, there's a million tools that y'all offer daily, twice daily, to help us to get better and to reach more people and to actually tell what we want to tell as opposed to everything else. And so the community is huge. Like even like on the Facebook pages, I read those all the time because I'm like, oh yeah, that's that. I did that. I experienced that, and it helps me feel like, okay, there's other people in the same situation as me, and this is how they handled it. And so just constantly having that support is different than trying to teach other people, on my own. So I feel more a part of doing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think traditional school and university has a difficult time creating that community, especially in that sense of support, especially if people are doing online classes. And so what do we do if we're not 18 or 19 years old, but we're in our 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and we want to learn a new skill? We don't have the ability to go and hang out on campus. So, you know what I mean? Like we don't have the ability to go, have our family go around with us and help us find what college we're going to go to and then take, 4 years off of life to go get a bachelor's degree. That's probably not going to help us to get where we want to get anyways. Nowadays, a bachelor's degree is damn near a high school diploma in many respects. I mean, you have to get up into having a master's degree in many career fields to start getting into any significant money. And so we're left with.
We're in that stage right now. So I have a junior right now, and she's unsure if she wants to go to college. And I'm trying to show her that there is other ways, like showing my kids. They only knew me mostly as a stay-at-home mom. And now I'm getting to show my daughters, like, mom did have a career before, and mom is capable of on her own 2 feet. Like yes, I love my husband and everything, but like I relied on him for a lot of years. But now I'm showing these kids, like, they didn't know any different. They didn't think, they just thought I cooked and cleaned and did all the mom stuff. And I'm like, no, I'm capable of I'm capable of doing a lot myself. And it's kind of exciting to show them that there is another part of me that isn't just mom.
I was just going to ask you, what have you learned about yourself? But it sounds like not only, you've just talked about what you're showing your kids. What have you learned about yourself through this that either you had forgotten about, needed it to be reinforced, or is something brand new to you? What comes to mind when I ask that question?
To be honest, like when I did become a stay-at-home mom, I lost myself. Like I completely lost my identity because that was not on my agenda. I went to school. I was going to, always have a nanny, and that wasn't on my radar. And so when that happened, I kind of just lost who I was, and I loved it. I adapted, and I loved being able to be there and raise them when they were all little and stuff. But I never had that little part of me that gave me that inner confidence, like I can do things on my own. Like I don't need to just raise children. And granted, I love it. I'm proud of it. It's a huge thing. But I also was lacking that piece of me that was like who I am, and like and then becoming a caregiver, that took even more of me because I was just in survival mode. Like having to care for someone 24 hours and raise 4 children, there was none of me left. And so I needed something back that was for me to make me feel good and to show that there's different facets of me other than mom and, minivan driver and soccer person. And so, yeah.
I love that. And so many people can relate. So many of us can relate, even us men, because, I mean, dad becomes quite an identity as well, and it really is a life-changing event when now all of a sudden you have little ones who are relying on you, looking to you, looking up to you. Their whole survival depends on you. That becomes quite a priority, and it becomes a major part of your identity. And so a lot of this for me, even nowadays, tends to sort of be like I still got it, and I still got it, old pops, and of course now I'm pops. I mean, my dad used to be old pops, but now it's just as we get older, it's like it's very cage rattling to realize like how old we are. I mean, I just turned 40, so I'm like reminiscing a little bit right now and sort of, having my own, I'm reflecting myself right now in this moment just on what it's been like to turn 40 and what it's been like to get older, and how being an entrepreneur gives me that outlet for creativity and accomplishment that I don't always get as a dad, because although you love, and there's nothing like when your kids say, my daughter's very validating. We tend to be big communicators in our family, and she says, Daddy, you're the best daddy any daughter could ever take. And I say the same thing to her. She likes to hear me say things like, you're the best daughter any daddy could ever ask for. A lot of times she asks for that at bed. But it's a thankless job in a lot of other hours of the day, and you can go long periods of time, not getting a lot of validation.
Mm-hmm.
And so entrepreneurship in a way for me is that way to do self-care, to affirm myself. Even if I'm not having massive wins, like there's been many times in my career where I wasn't making millions of dollars, but having a successful campaign, posting a video that people loved.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was affirming to me. And it has allowed me over the years to be able to build my own self-esteem and my own self-worth and my own self-confidence through the process of affirming myself through my work. And it's so cool that I get to do my work from home, right? That was such a cool thing that I still love to this day and value so much that, I'm here. I'm at home. My kids, my little kids at least, have never seen me work a traditional job, have never come and visited daddy at like a corporate building, and then had to leave. And I had to, so I love that for you. And I love that you're sharing that, because so many of us can relate to that, whether we're dads, moms, caregivers, grandparents, etc. We can relate to that. And I'm so happy for you that you're stepping into this new chapter and embracing it. And it's teaching you new things about yourself, giving you new forms of self-esteem. You're so deserving of that. And you are helping a lot of people with your stories of struggle and survival. You're not, you're a survivor. You're somebody who has really, you and your family have endured some serious stuff. And for you to be sharing that in the way that you are is really, really something that is inspiring. And I'm very grateful for you sharing it with us this morning. So come back and see me if you would be willing to, Trista, and keep up the wonderful work.
Yeah, of course.
All right, my friend. Well, my best to you and your family. Happy holidays, okay? And stay legendary, my friend. All right, see you later. All right, you can follow Trista over on TikTok and Instagram at Trista the Affiliate. And that's spelled Trista, Trista the Affiliate. My friends, wow. What a wonderful conversation. What a powerful conversation this morning. There's always a unique flavor of every episode. Every one of you brings something unique to these sessions, these shows that no other person can deliver. And if you go back and you listen to now, I mean, we're headed towards 850 of these interviews with you all. I mean, you're just watching this right now as if like this is like some highly produced show with gurus, but it's not. It's just me recording this in my home with one of you who has joined me on this show. And if you go back and listen to 850-ish almost of these shows, each one has a different, unique flavor of its own. And it's powerful and inspiring. Not a single one is not inspiring, including today's ultra inspiring. And of course, Trista said, I'm nervous, I'm excited. I mean, I'm not totally sure if this was her only live she's ever done, but I can imagine that there hasn't been a whole lot of lives, if any. And I can kind of see her backstage. I believe she's shaking her head to this was her first live. So, my friends, it is so unbelievable how unique and inspiring and powerful each one of you are, each one of us are in our own right when we get out of our own way and just let our hair down and let it fly. My Lord, my hope is that you leave here today realizing that you have a unique, powerful message and unique delivery, that you don't have to be like anybody else, that you don't have to copy anybody else, and that you too suffer from the liking gap. Go and look it up on Wikipedia. It's where we think that people like us less than they actually do. And I guarantee that as each one of you, as you step into your own personal power, as you realize your best self, you will realize that people actually like you, that they appreciate your stories and your content and your authentic self much more than you ever imagined that they would. As always, thank you for all the loving affirmations and validation that you all give us in the comments each and every morning, particularly for our guests. Thank you so much. I hope Trista goes back and reads some of these. Sometimes it can be hard to watch them as they're going on. I know I do. I try to read them as they're coming in and go back and read them because they're so supportive. And that's the best thing about this community is how much support, how much validation we give each other. It's what we need. And we look forward to giving that back to you. So with that being said, one more time, go and follow Trista over on TikTok and Instagram at Trista, the affiliate, spelled Trista, the affiliate. And also go ahead and text us at WUL, or text the letters WUL for Wake Up Legendary to 813-296-8553. We'll give you a gentle little nudge at 10 a.m. Eastern time when we go live every morning, and you can join us right from your phone. Get out of here. Keep progressing. Keep being legendary, my friends. You deserve it. What does that mean? It means just do the opposite of what average is. And average is buying stuff, doing nothing with it, letting our fears dominate us, not taking the next step forward, thinking we have to be perfect before we take action. You got this. Don't quit before the miracle happens, and meet us back here tomorrow for another episode. All right, my friends, we love you. Take care. Be legendary. Peace.